Hello, and welcome to a new series I am starting. In this series, I will show how to use Paint.net to create reskins for RN/NV3's Trainz simulator. Now, this is a topic which many people have asked about, and you want to make reskins, and so I've decided to make the comprehensive guide making reskins for Trainz. Now, I will be using Paint.net, and I will just show everything in this first episode on how to set it up and everything that you would need to make a reskin. So it is of course assumed that you will be using Trainz. Any version will work. I use 2010. I wouldn't recommend it because it's so old, but this is all the same content that you would use on a New Era, 19, even TS12. So you may notice that the Paint.net version I'm using is a little bit old. As far as I know, the newer versions are basically the same, so I don't think there'd be any problem with that. So the first thing you will have to do, of course, is download Paint.net. That can be found on getpaint.net. The link will be in the description down below. Now, the first thing I recommend getting once you've installed Paint.net are plugins. Plugins allow you to have features and tons of different things that aren't available on stock Paint.net. The first pack I recommend is by Pyrochild. That'll be in the description down below. It is just frankly amazing thing. It's got tons of different features. I highly recommend it, and we'll be using it a lot later on. The next one you should get is a pack of effects by Vander Motten. And the last one is PSD file opener, which will allow you to open PSD files, which is very important as we'll see later. Now the next thing I would recommend downloading is a pack of PSD skin kits on Jointed Rail. These have some useful layers that we'll be using later on, and they're nice things to reskin with. I don't use them, but if you ever want to, you can definitely do that. Now, back in Paint.net, if everything that you installed works fine, you can check in program files, your effects, they also show up here. File types, the Photoshop opener. I also have XCF for GIMP. It's not necessary, but if you happen to use XCFs, that's also something you would want to use. Now, the basics of Paint.net. You can change these around, but you have 4 basic boxes here on your actual display. You have your layers here, so I can add a new layer, and these will be very useful later on. You got some controls here to like delete, duplicate, merge, swap. Above layers, you have history, which allows you to go back to things kind of like Control Z. In fact, if you use Control Z, which is a well-known keyboard shortcut for going back, you can do that. That also works. You can go forward. Now over here on the left, we have our different tools. In this toolbox, we have a lot that we'll be using. Move is one, lasso, ellipse, magic wand, a very useful tool. Paint bucket, not so useful. Paintbrush, not that useful. We'll get to that one later. Pencil, not useful at all. Tone stamp, very useful. Text, obviously useful. Shapes, line, recolor, that's got some uses. Color picker, and you get the idea. So we'll get back to these later, but this is just your tools. Colors are over here. You can have a color wheel. You can select different colors. You can edit the properties of the color more specifically, so lighter, darker, the shade, the hue, all that sort of stuff. Now, if you happen to close these out, don't worry, because up here, you just click up here and they'll come back. Up on top, you have a host of other tools. File, which allows you to open stuff, save as, edit, which is come in handy later once you actually done editing. View, that's for zooming in, not really useful. Image flipping, rotating, very useful. Resize, layers, these controls are the same ones as down here. Adjustments, very useful. We've got a lot of stuff like black and white, brightness and contrast, hue and saturation. Definitely want to keep this. And you can see the ones from the plugins, they show up here with this icon, so that's how you know it was added. And effects, this will be used way later on. And there's a lot of cool stuff in here, which I'll definitely show. Now, last but not least, there's another toolbar here. Anti-aliasing is, it just makes things, whether like they're sharper or like nice and smooth on the edges, like on a line, it's diagonal or anything like that. Definitely be using that. And you got your width, which definitely affects a lot of things, like see a smaller width, make it thicker. more visible, right? So it's pretty simple. Now to pan around the screen, you'll have different controls. So mouse wheel doesn't do anything. However, if you press Control, scroll up, you zoom in, scroll out, you see rolling out. Now you can scroll up, scroll down, hold Shift to go left, right. Now, some keyboard shortcuts that you'll find very useful. I've already said Control Z, go back, right? Control B will center everything on the middle of the screen. Control A selects everything. Control D deselects. Control X cuts. Control V pastes. Control C copies. And then just paste things like that. Now, delete will delete everything that you have selected. Very useful, of course. So there you go, delete all that. Now, those are the keys you'll end up using most often. So keep those in mind. I'll throw them up on the screen as I use them in editing so you can see. Now, if you want to move something around, you see that the move tool becomes selected automatically. You can just hold down the left pointer and just drag like this. So if you want to move, that's how you do it. Now, to save your files, you always want to make sure you save these intermediately because you don't want to lose any of your work. Let's just say, for example, you're making a HLCX SD60. Now, what I do is I like to make a folder for everything that I have all organized. Well, not so organized, but make a folder for it, and now I'll save a PDN, okay, which is the layered file, which will keep all your layers so they don't disappear so you can edit them. Then, after you saved it, you want to save as, and then this time you want to save it as a .tga, which will make it a single like flat image, one layer. Save, and you must turn off RLE compression because if you don't, it'll just show up as white when you get into the game. So make sure you're saving and make sure you always save and then save as, otherwise you'll lose your work and you'll be very frustrated at yourself. Trust me, it's happened, it's not fun. So I think that wraps it up for episode 1. Episode 2 will come back and I'll show you how to make a blank and the basics of actually making the skin itself now that you've set up your workspace. Let me know what you thought, what you didn't like. Please leave a comment down below. I'm aware my audio sucks and not much I can do about it right now, but hopefully I'll fix it later. Thank you for watching.